500? What? How do you even pack that many lunches? And what's going to last that long? Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka GeekXX Chic, and we are back with another reaction to Vinland Saga. We're on season 1, episode 15, which is called After Yule. So I guess we're going to be potentially visiting a Christian celebration. We'll have to see. But in the last episode, we had very little Thorfinn actually, but basically Askeladd's group stumbled upon a village because they needed food and supplies. They did what Vikings do, sadly, but there was one girl who did survive, a girl who felt as though she didn't quite fit in with her village, and she was somewhat enamored of the Vikings because she felt like their evil spirits matched. So not sure what that was all about, but it was a pretty dark episode despite the title, and there was very little Thorfinn in it as well. So yeah, we'll have to see if he makes an appearance back in this episode. So I'm ready to jump in. But just before I do, a reminder that if you'd like to be in the know of when I drop episodes, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. All right, that out of the way, let's get into the episode right now.
I was
about to say, what? When? They are not. Just seriously, zip it, box top. You know, maybe if you hadn't been such a horrible family to him, you wouldn't have your back looking like it does. So how about that? Leave your little blonde boy alone. Why is he so dramatic? Look at the size of him. What do you mean, or? Could you? Do you think she can manage a keg? Just him. Thorkel is a big man, okay? He can't help his appetite. I don't know what any of that means. He probably would. Okay. He got a little sense. Seriously, find a hobby, bro. Start painting, maybe some clay modeling, dancing. Well, you did just kill a bunch of innocent people, so yeah. Actually, someone should have a conscience. That's why your ears look like that. You need to pray for yourself, Thorfinn. Not be worried about who else is praying for whom. Aren't you having a spiritual crisis? Wow. Second time he's yelled. He's an alcoholic. Most of the time. Speaking of fathers loving children, what would your father think of what you're doing right now, huh? Thorkel ain't no dummy. You will be the chefs. 500? 500? What? How do you even pack that many lunches? And what's going to last that long? You're a problem, Thorkel. You are very much a problem. I've been peeing for like 45 minutes. You think? I wonder why. Be discussed. Not secrets. Ooh, the men are noticing as well.
うまそうなウサギだな。
Bro, I don't think you need any rabbits. Maybe you should stick to some vegetables.
だけの飯は良くないぞ。野菜と一緒に煮込め。
The vegetables is absolutely necessary, but let him think he knows what's best for him.
血を抜いて内臓を洗っておけ。
Tell me what to do? He's like, this is some fancy food. I'm used to eating marrow out of discarded bones. Oishi.
うまかろうが。
Sorry, umai.
ばかりだと思ってたぜ。趣味だ。普段は作らぬし。
Oh, you're allowed to have hobbies.
タラの料理を作った時な。良い出来だったので、
And your
父
father
親
hated
陛下
it.
に持って行ったことがある。
And he slapped you.
召し上がるどころか、激しくお怒りになった。
That's why his back looked like that.
奴隷の真似事をするな、と。
Okay, because cooking is only a necessary skill.
王陛下もお忙しかったのでしょう。
His dad's an ass. Please
戦
don't
が
cover
終
for
わった
him.
ら鶏料理でも作ってお持ちしまし
No,
ょう。
let's not. He doesn't deserve it.
うまかったな。
後で料理人にコツを聞きました。煮こごりを上手
Homie's
に買
like,
っておりましてな。
should I leave? Like, do you two need a minute?
敵に見つかったっす。東の森で戦闘がおっ始まりました。
何？
Nani?
この村に潜んでまだ10日だぞ。
Only 10
な
days
ぜ
is
バ
a
レ
long
た？
ass time.
村人たちを皆殺しにして。
We? Who's we? I don't speak French.
この後に及んでまだ敵地を進むと抜か
Yes.
すか。
Askeladd is stubborn.
話があるならご自分で出向けばいいんじゃないですか。
Homie said, I'm not going up there. You
Unleash
kidding? I'm not gonna die. You wanna talk to him? Head up there.
見定められんで何がノルド戦士か。
All Ragnar does is nag, my god.
時の声はあっちから聞こえるぞ。
と気づいたか。鈍いなあんた。
え？貴様ら何を？
Do you understand yet? It's too bad, Ragnar. You were a very caring ward.
かい。俺らは構わねえけ
I
ど
don't
よ。
think you got it in you to be perfectly honest.
呼べ！王子殿下に関わることだ。直接話す。
I mean, what's he gonna do in this shape?
人払いしますか。
Askeladd ever the little... Why didn't he just kill himself? But I guess he probably looks at Ragnar as a crutch for Canute, which is true.
そして貴殿の死がさらなる成長を促すでしょう。
Cannot wait for Askeladd's end to come.
貴様の神に近い。
He doesn't have... Do you think he's a religious
わし
man?
の後を引き継ぎ。何があ
Askeladd
ろうと。
doesn't worship anything but himself.
何があろうと。
Yeah, your mistake is thinking that Askeladd has any type of fealty or loyalty to anyone but himself.
イエリングの帝臣たちは今、時代のデンマーク王の座をめぐって大きく二派に分かれ、クヌート殿下は一方の派閥の旗頭にされておる。
See, there's political stuff that you don't understand, Askeladd. Maybe not killing this man. You could have wounded him to set an example. Because something tells me you're just not quite refined enough to handle the nuances of politics.
スベン王が王子を。こたび王陛下が殿下を戦場へ伴ったの。殿下を戦死させるためだ。
See, you know nothing.
殿下の真の敵
It's
は
his own father.
お父上のスベン王陛下。
なんてこって早めに言ってくれよ。そういうことだよ。
Anyway,
一目殿下にお別れや。
like that's his kid.
王陛下も喜んでください。
Peace out, Conehead. You will get yours, Askeladd. Know that. Yeah, I just can't get behind Askeladd's character. That's me personally. I know he's not all bad, and I understand the logic behind why he thinks that Ragnar has to go. It is true that Canute is relying way too much on him, especially if he is supposed to be a future leader. But I don't think the rashness of killing him like this was the right thing to do. Now, again, there's never going to be a right time to do that. But as I said, he really could have just wounded him badly and, told him, hey, this is your warning. You need to back up off of Canute and let me toughen the kid up. Or, or I'm going to send you away. I'm going to give you one chance to make up something and take off and let me stick with the kid for a while. and then we'll meet up with you later. That kind of thing. He didn't need to take this kid's essentially the only parent he's ever had. Askeladd just thinks because he had a horrible upbringing, everyone deserves to have a horrible upbringing as well. Like hearing about his past, about the fact that his dad was an abusive loser and that his mom unfortunately was someone who had to suffer for that. This is why he has literally no empathy for Thorfinn, and why he doesn't care when he just does all these horrible things. I mean, he doesn't do a lot of it himself. I notice he very rarely gets his own hands dirty. But it doesn't, and I'm sure in his mind, that's how he's absolving himself. Oh, well, I didn't actually kill Thors, right? I put the signal out for people to do it, but I wasn't the one who really did it, I beat up on Thorfinn all the time. I beat up a child multiple times, and I left him to starve and freeze to death. But, I didn't actually take him out, so I'm not a bad person. Oh, and all those villages where all those people were taken, their lives were taken, and we did these horrible things. I didn't actually do it. I let the men do it, but I didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, he really thinks in his mind there's something, a wall between him and these men, right? That little bit of Welsh blood in him, he thinks makes him so much better, just a little bit better than all these, because he doesn't do it directly. And I can sense it. That's one of the reasons why even there, why didn't he just take out Ragnar? Why did he order his men to do it? Because he didn't want to have to be the one. He'd be like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't actually do it. I was the one who actually took his life. Like men like Askeladd, people like Askeladd, just those kind of people make me just, ugh. And as I said, don't get me wrong. I understand why he wants to separate Ragnar and Canute. It's true. Canute does need to grow up, right? I understand, we saw the history of his background, growing up in a very violent family like that, being the youngest, being the smallest. He had to do what he had to do to not end up being casualty much younger than he already is. But if he is going to succeed the throne in Denmark, right, with these Danes who are very violent, very assertive people, he needs to be able to stand on his own 2 feet and speak his voice and have conviction. And at this time, like, it's true, he doesn't have that, and he just jumps behind Ragnar whenever he doesn't want to deal with something. And that can't last, right? I'm assuming he's around 16-ish at this point. He's too old for that. I mean, 16 is still a child. Make no mistake. But in those times, you were considered a man or a woman at the age of 16. I mean, granted, people barely lived past the age of 40 back then, but you were considered an adult by the time you hit 15, 16 years old. So the point is, Canute is in an age where if his dad were to pass away, which I think this episode was letting us know that the king is not well. I don't think all those bumps and stuff that we're seeing on his skin, I don't think that that's just a skin condition. I think it's the indicator that he has a deeper illness that's probably slowly but surely progressing. And if that's the case, then he will probably be gone sooner than not. And as we just heard from Ragnar, there's going to be a vie for that seat. And at this point, Canute is not going to be anywhere near that if he can't speak up for himself. These men don't even respect him at this point as a king. So I do get what Askeladd is going for, but I don't think he needed to do this, and he did need to do it this way. But on the other side of things, I do know that asking Ragnar to leave was Ragnar was a nag, right? Ragnar was very, what's the best word for it? Because I know that his priority was Canute, and that was actually really nice to see that he valued Canute that much, and you could tell he very much looked at Canute as his own son. But in those codependent types of relationships, I mean, he wasn't letting Canute grow. Like, he was making a lot of excuses for Canute. He was always ready to jump down anyone's throat who came for or gave valid criticism of Canute. And I think that's honestly where Askeladd and Ragnar had their biggest headbutt, is that we saw that a few times Askeladd was trying to hey, the prince should really speak up for himself. Hey, the prince should be doing this. And anytime he would say anything like that, Ragnar was the first person to be like, oh, you don't know the prince, you don't know what's going on, and not really listen or even say, okay, I see where you're coming from and you're probably right. Let's work together to see if we can get him to be better. You know what I'm saying? But I do think Ragnar could have been brought to that point. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't know, at this point, he doesn't know Askeladd from a hole in the wall. All he knows is that this man showed up with his men, took out half of his men, and essentially kind of has them hostage. So, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a very complicated situation. And obviously with the war going on, things are having to be done quickly. So again, I'm not saying I don't understand Askeladd's thinking and his logic around this, but it just, to me, shows me more of why he's really just not a good character. Like, he's just not a good person, I should say. He's a very good character, but he's just not a good person. Like, he's not, the self-serving nature of what he does and the way he has such a low value of people's lives that he doesn't feel fall into his grand plan is just something that I'll never appreciate. Like I am more for where, because like, there's no nobility in what he's doing, I guess is what my point is. Like, yes, you look at Thor's in his early years was absolutely the same way. It had very little regard for human life, you know, did a lot of bad. But in his mind, at least like Thorkel, for example, who's very similar, Thorkel has a very pure and altruistic idea of why he's doing what he's doing. I don't agree with it, but at least I can say, okay, this dude truly believes that this is the way to Valhalla. This is what he lives for. It's not a, you know, he's indiscriminate about who gets it as long as they get it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a very much more honest and pure way that Thorkel and Thor's in his day was moving, right? Versus Askeladd is just playing this game of thinking that he's so much better than others when he's really not. And just, you know, this puppeteering he's doing of people, it's just, I don't know. That's never been my cup of tea, but it does make him a very, very, very good character, right? Because he does have that anti-hero vibe going on because he's not a good guy. As I said, we know this. The fact that he is raiding these villages and taking lives and doing all these things, you know, that's unquestionably bad. But at the same time, you see that he has the village back home, like his brother who he cares for. We know that he cares for his home village. We know that he prioritizes the needs of his men over anything else. But again, I feel like that's for business, not because he actually cares about them. I do think he genuinely respects Thorfinn and what, like, the kind of person that Thorfinn's been as far as being so altruistic to his purpose, right? I wouldn't say, you know, he's a good kid at this point, but he is altruistic to his purpose. You know, I do think that there's some good there, and he has, in his own very twisted, highly dysfunctional way, protected Thorfinn. But on the other side of things, he's clearly not a good person. Like, there's just, yeah, the list is too long of the horrible things that he has done in the name of piracy, in the name of just getting money. So anyway, it does make him a very interesting character, and the dynamic between him and Thorfinn, the fact that, you know, Thorfinn on the one hand hates this man, but on the other hand, that is his father figure for all intents and purposes. Like I've said this many episodes now, Askeladd has morphed into his father figure now, so I don't think that Thorfinn is, as much as Thorfinn probably thinks he hates him, his feelings for Askeladd are probably a lot more muddy than he realizes at this point. So anyway, interesting episode. We'll have to see what happens now, how Canut's gonna take this. I mean, it is gonna have to force him to grow up, I think, but I'm glad that he is getting somewhat closer to Thorfinn. I mean, they're still kind of at odds. Well, actually, it's more Thorfinn being at odds with him, but I do think that Thorfinn is starting to slowly but surely see that Canute is more than what meets the eye. And I do think that's a potentially good friendship there, because my boy needs somebody who has a different perspective on the world that's his age than these vile men that he's been traveling with now for almost a decade. So, but yeah, another interesting episode. I do hope you guys enjoyed watching along with me. If you did, please show some love, and I'll see you in the next one.